many of you guys have watched the movie Inception? Put your hand down, YouTube auditor. I wasn't talking to you, dumbass. You can go fuck yourself. No, but really, how many of you guys have at least seen or you're aware of the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio? Don't worry, there won't be a quiz or anything on this, but if you haven't seen the movie or at least gone and read the Cliff Notes, it's a complicated story. But the gist is that Leonardo's character is hired to perform corporate espionage by implanting ideas into someone's head through dreams. He's able to invade their dreams and implant dreams into their heads that turn into thoughts. Anyways, the finale of the movie is putting a dream inside of a dream inside of another dream. Yes, that's the plot of the movie, and you have to watch the shit to see exactly how it works. But imagine having a dream where you're having a dream about having a dream. Now, what the fuck does all of this have to do with Assassin's Creed? The motherfuckers put a trilogy inside of a trilogy, which is apparently going to be part of a larger trilogy if the game rumors about Assassin's Creed are true. Motherfucker, now you're just messing with my head. This is like divided by zero up in this bitch. But anyways, let's get back into simpler terms without having to hurt my brain with all this bullshit. Ubisoft decided that the character Ezio was too damn good to pass up. Since Assassin's Creed 2 managed to improve on just about everything from the original, they wanted to capitalize on the world and story they created with the character. So Ubisoft made the confusing decision to roll out Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and eventually Revelations, which will be tomorrow's video. Assassin's Creed 2 was expanding on its own trilogy, with the first game being Ezio's introduction to the assassin world, this game being the pinnacle of his work as the top assassin, and Revelations being the completion of his journey as the greatest assassin of all time. And in his prime, this is the game that establishes how the Assassin Order rose to prominence under his leadership. And it pretty much shows how he built the Order around this time, or better name for it, the Brotherhood. This game introduced a number of new things to the Assassin's Creed series, including additional assassins to help you in combat and horseplay. Finally! Holy shit, man. You know, we saw that in the demo from the original Assassin's Creed game all the way back a few years before this shit. They had you fighting on horses and even had the ability to bring the motherfucker into town. Now, we can finally do all that shit. It only took them 3 goddamn games to figure that shit out. And finally, they introduced multiplayer to the Assassin's Creed franchise. Now, one interesting thing to note about this game is, unlike Assassin's Creed 2 that took me almost a year to play, I didn't wait that long to play Brotherhood. When Assassin's Creed 2 came out, it was during the year Modern Warfare 2 was in style. When Brotherhood came out, Crap Ops was the Call of Duty in style, and anyone who's been around my channel long enough knows that game was utterly unfucking playable on PlayStation 3. And when I get my chance to talk about that game, I'm going to tell you one last asshole before I throw that motherfucker out. But anyway, this game came out the same exact day as Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. I chose to play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit over this right away, and maybe a month or 2 down the road, also after playing Need for Speed, I started playing on Mass Effect, Little Big Planet 2. So I didn't play this immediately at launch or at purchase, but at least it was quicker than Assassin's Creed 2. It didn't sit on my shelf for 11 months like the prior game. It only sat on my shelf for like 5 months this time around. Hey, look, I just finished Assassin's Creed 2 right before Brotherhood released. I needed an Assassin's Creed break. So, I played other shit before finally jumping into this motherfucker. Now, let me say this about this game. Gameplay-wise, it improves on Assassin's Creed 2. It added more elements like the Brotherhood, more fighting sequences like the heavy weapons and whatnot. But the improvement from Assassin's Creed 2 to Brotherhood is nowhere near the improvement jump that Assassin's Creed 2 made from the original Assassin's Creed 1 game. The differences between Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 were night and day. The differences between Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood were minimal. Assassin's Creed 2 was an amazing game, so only minor tweaks and shit were necessary. So the wow factor of improvements wasn't needed in this game, since Assassin's Creed 2 already had the building blocks in place for an amazing game. Now, recruiting for the Brotherhood was my favorite part of this game. Like I say in almost all my games, if you give me some RPG-ish shit, I will spend my time doing that RPG-ish shit. I mean, I literally stopped playing the campaign portion of the game just to rank up all my assassins. I would send them out on missions across Europe to rank up and whatnot, wander around the city just to kill random guards, you name it, I did it. Anything I could do to rank up my characters, I was doing. It was an excellent addition to the game that added fun and showed how important Ezio was to building up the Assassin Guild across Europe. The campaign itself, though, I do have some issues with. First of all, the way things ended in Assassin's Creed 2. Ezio's main rival is still around and he wants revenge. So, he burns down Ezio's villa and kills his family members again. So once again in this game, you're tasked with challenging the Borgias. This time the main adversary is Caesar or Cesare in Ezio's accent. You know, I don't understand why all of a sudden they added accents and shit like that. The first game had absolutely no accents, but all of a sudden in Assassin's Creed 2 in these games, all of a sudden everybody has an accent. Get the fuck out of here with that shit, man. But anyway, it basically feels like the same shit from the prior game all over again. Now you're trying to overtake Rome, which was just a small part of Assassin's Creed 2, and liberate Rome from the Templars' control. I mean, seriously, I just fucking did this in Assassin's Creed 2 in another goddamn city. So why the fuck am I doing it again? Also, you introduced this concept of the Brotherhood, and they only play a relatively small role in the storyline. You know, in the gameplay, they have a big role, but in the storyline, it's a very small role. The whole point of this game is called Brotherhood, yet all you do is use the Brotherhood for your gameplay. Storyline, you see them absolutely nowhere in the story, only until the end when everybody's crowding around Ezio to make sure that he actually completes his mission. If you're gonna call something Brotherhood, you at least have to have them part of the damn game. You know, only at the end, Ezio's named Mentor of the Guild, so that's pretty much the only relevant plotline this story had. You know, sure they were fighting across Europe, don't get me wrong, but that had no impact on the story. That's only gameplay. It was more of a side quest than anything. Just put it this way, if you did nothing with the Brotherhood the entire game, you just did the basic mission of recruiting the very first person, at the end of the game, you will still end up as the mentor of the Brotherhood. So if you recruited just one assassin because it was mandatory, or two assassins, whatever the fuck the number was, you completed the end objective. That's a bit of a letdown when you gotta call a game Brotherhood. You know what I'm talking about? Now, one other issue that I do have with Ezio's storyline is the ending of this game. I know that Ubisoft likes to take historical characters and they throw them into the Assassin's Creed stories as a way of linking the game to actual historical events. The problem becomes when you need to either stretch the truth a bit or somehow make the game fit real life events. Caesar Borgia's fate was a perfect example. In real life, he died in a battle in Spain. He was a real life person, he actually died in a battle in Spain. In the game, right before the finale, he is captured and held in prison, only to escape and pick that fight in Spain. Now, it's nice to see the game attempt to match his real life events with the story, but what ends up happening is a real what the fuck moment. Ezio has him captured at the end of the game in a fight for the Apple of Eden. Ezio looks into his magical and wonderful apple and realizes this motherfucker escaped. Really? Really? Your second to last chapter is the big battle and it shows you finally get this motherfucker. And then they have this tiny little ending chapter just to show that this motherfucker escaped. And after this cocksucker decides to escape, he goes to Spain and he rebuilds his entire army again. Fine, I get it. You're trying to match the story to his real life. However, for the game, it makes no sense at all. None. It doesn't fit any of the narrative the game created. It completely adds an extra chapter that you just sit there and wonder, what the fuck, why am I even doing this bullshit? It basically feels like a tacked on portion of the game just to show how he died in those battles. It's completely rushed, where Ezio defeats him using the apple, then one day decides to check up on his old adversary and see that he's in Spain. So you're magically warped from what looks like the ending of a game to another battle that is the true ending of the game. It's disjointed and it's pointless. But they wanted some form of historical accuracy, and that's what they came up with for this game. Now, as for the Desmond storyline, this pissed me off big time. I'm not gonna lie about that shit. Before this game released, Ubisoft said that each major number game would be a new character. Fine, so essentially, this is a spin-off of the game. This is a game that's supposed to expand on Ezio's character. Then why the fuck do major events happen during Desmond's storyline? No, really, spin-offs should not be an extension of a main storyline. Yet this fucking game does that. If you're going to name your series 1, 2, and 3, and then add a bunch of minor games in between to fill up space or whatever the fuck, then the filler should not impact your main story. A motherfucker should be able to play parts 1, 2, and 3 and understand what the fuck is going on. But not here. Without playing Brotherhood, you wouldn't know anything about Juno. Without playing this game, the ending with Lucy would be a complete mystery from someone jumping from part 2 to part 3. You add in characters that weren't in the first two games, and then they become integral parts of the finale. These spin-offs are necessary to play to understand what happens to Desmond, and that's just outright fucking wrong. Spin-offs are not supposed to have an impact on a main storyline. They're supposed to supplement the storyline, not change it, not alter it, and not advance it in a brand new direction. You know, I don't mind that we had Brotherhood and Revelations. It's fine that they wanted to expand on Ezio, and you understand that Ubisoft didn't want to go 2 full years without a game until they resolved the 2012 storyline. So they threw in these 2 games in the middle of their story in 2010 and 2011 to kill time before they resolved the 2012 apocalypse bullshit. But fucking with Desmond's storyline was a load of bullshit. If anything, they shouldn't have touched anything to do with Desmond's storyline. Just show him in the Animus, that's it, we're doing 2 spin-off games. No, instead, they advance his plotline, they advance his storyline, so those who didn't want to play these 2 filler games ended up getting fucked around if they played Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3. Total fucking bullshit. Now, the final thing I have to mention is the multiplayer, and I'm going to do this real quick. When it was announced that they were doing multiplayer, my first reaction was, what the fuck? How the fuck would that actually work? And then eventually we got more details and the scope of the work, and I realized it sounded like a unique idea. I believe there was a demo or beta ahead of time, and I got in on that. And I will say, I had a little bit of fun in that motherfucker. My issue with the multiplayer was that if you wanted to focus on stealth gameplay, you could have assholes in your room that completely ignore it, and they could still end up with the top score. You know, it was counterintuitive. Here I am, trying to be all stealthy, all patient, yet I see a motherfucker climbing up walls and shit, killing people without even attempting to be unnoticeable, and they're winning the matches. Personally, it's not my flavor of online play. You know, I know that they made some improvements to the game. I know that they increased the rewards and points for doing things the right way, as opposed to running around looking like an asshole, but the game lost its appeal to me after that bullshit. You know, I appreciate that they wanted to do something different, but it's just not my flavor of online gameplay. I'd rather play their campaign than their online portion, so I really don't get into their multiplayer games. As soon as the game comes out, I play their campaign, I ignore the multiplayer, and that's how I play my Assassin's Creed games. Anyways, that does it for Brotherhood, and as you can probably guess, Revelations is going to be tomorrow. So that's the next one up on the list. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.